Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making 7-Up pound cake. So to start with, we're going to put into a bowl 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And to this, we are going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And when we get this in, we're going to mix it up with a whisk just to get it incorporated to make sure the salt mixes through your flour. And then in a separate bowl, we are going to add 3 cups of sugar. And to this, we are going to put in 1.5 cups of butter, which has been melted or at least softened to a point where it can mix in with your sugar. Now, once we get everything into the bowl, we are going to use a mixer to mix this together but make it soft and fluffy, which is going to take about 5 minutes or so to do. So this is kind of a lengthy part of the recipe, but it actually helps this in the end to be a smoother consistency to work with when you're making the pound cake. So I would start off on a low setting, and then if you feel like you want to move it up higher after that, you can do that. But just keep mixing it until everything is mixed together and it becomes really soft and fluffy looking, because that is your whole idea in this whole 5 minutes of mixing this. Make sure as you're mixing to move the mixer around the bowl from side to side and across the bottom to make sure you pull in any of the sugar that might be actually stuck to the bottom of the bowl. And as you can see, as I'm mixing this, mine's becoming more fluffy as I go. Now, when we get to this point, we're going to add 5 eggs, and you're going to add them in one at a time, and you're going to continue mixing until that egg is completely dissolved, and then go for the next one until you've gotten all 5 incorporated into your mix. Now, remarkably, when I was putting these eggs in, I got them in one at a time without dumping in a couple each time I tried. So, it just takes being a little careful, I guess. And then when you get them all in, make sure this is completely mixed together. Now, what we're going to do in mixing this now is we're going to alternate between flour and 7-Up, and your 7-Up should be at room temperature. So what you're going to do is flour, 7-Up, flour, 7-Up, flour, or if you have more than that in your mix, just go ahead and do a little bit more of the 7-Up flour. But you want to start with the flour and end with it, because as you're mixing the flour in around the 7-Up, it's actually incorporating it into your mix. It just blends a lot better that way to keep it in there. So we're just going to go through each one of these. So what we're doing is adding in 3/4 cup of 7-Up, like I said, at room temperature, and you're mixing this in with your flour mixture that you already had. And go ahead and continue mixing this and adding them alternately till you get it all used up. And if you see a little frothiness happening when you're putting in the 7-Up, that does happen. It's just a little fizzy, and that's perfectly fine. And it really doesn't matter how much flour you put in each time. I mean, I just basically put in probably anywhere from 1/2 cup or whatever on, just to mix in so that way I can alternate with the 7-Up. Now, if you haven't noticed already, I have not said to preheat the oven. We do not preheat the oven on this. You're going to put this into a cold oven when you go to bake it. So if you're worried about that at this point, do not. You don't have to do it yet. You know, ironically, when I was going to make this, I went to Walmart to grab a 7-Up, and you know, they didn't even have it on the shelf. I had to go to a grocery store to find it. It's kind of weird. You think everybody would have 7-Up, right? So as you see, we're getting pretty much towards the end of this because we have very little 7-Up left and just a little flour left. But as you're doing this, make sure you go all the way around the bowl to pull the flour into your mix. And that is all of my 7-Up. So the next thing will be just the last of the flour put in there and mixed up completely. And there we go. So we're going to mix this up all the way. Now you can put this in, when we're going to bake it, into a large bundt pan or a couple of regular loaf pans. I'm going to do 4 mini loaf pans and 1 regular one because I like to share these things with people. So I take the smaller ones and just give them to folks so that way they could snack on it, eat on it, do whatever. Just so that way they have something, you know, different to have. So you can make it however you want to. Now I am adding in to this 1 teaspoon of lemon extract and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and we're going to blend that through. And make sure everything is mixed. So whatever you're using to put your mix into to bake, make sure you spray it with some non-stick cooking spray so that way this does not set up shop. So like I said, I have these 4 mini loaves, and then I'm going to do a regular size one. And basically I'm going to scoop out enough to fill these maybe 3/4 of the way full or so, a little bit fuller than that. And then once I go for my other one, I'm doing a full-size loaf. So just whatever you're scooping it into, grab a hold of that and put it in. Because what I'm using is like a cup size. So, you know, that does plenty in here. You might want to use a little bit more than that. But when these bake up, they go a little over to the top, and that's perfect. So that's my first thing filled up. And then here's my trusty baking dish that I got from my great-grandmother, which I don't even want to know how old this thing is. It's probably more than 75 years old. It's been floating through the family forever. And I have sprayed that with cooking spray, and I'm putting the rest of my batter into that. And then these are going to go into, like I said, a cold oven, which once they're inside, you're going to start the temperature at 325 degrees. And you're going to leave this in for an hour and 10 minutes, or maybe a few minutes more if you feel it isn't completely done. If you're using something that's bigger, thicker, like, you know, a bundt pan or 2 of these loaf pans, you're going to need at least an hour or 10, maybe even an extra 10 minutes. But you can always stick in like a toothpick in the top, see if it comes out clean, to see if it's actually baked through. And when they come back from the oven, they look something like this. And these are amazing tasting. They have this great citrusy taste that is just wonderful. I hope you liked this recipe, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out my cookbooks, which are available on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide. The first book is for everyday cooking. The second is just about baking. Have a great day.